Hi everyone, my name is Sayak Basu, and today I'll be presenting about the 2019 Capital One data breach by Paige Thompson. We'll start by going through the details and background of the data breach, including the technical details of how the attacker was able to breach this major business's highly confidential, supposedly protected information. Back in 2019, 33-year-old Paige Thompson was convicted of wire fraud and computer data theft. Thompson's hack exposed the personal data of more than 100 million people, including over 140,000 social security numbers and 80,000 bank account numbers. She also attempted to distribute and publicize her victims' information using an online alias on the well-known open source repository GitHub. Initially, the target population included Capital One and Amazon, specifically over 100 million credit card customers and applicants of Capital One. However, as more information came to show, Thompson has now been accused of breaching up to 8 firms. Thompson's motivations in stealing and publicizing the information is not confirmed based on current convictions. We aren't entirely sure why she decided to publicize the confidential information she stole. However, she has been accused of installing crypto mining software on misconfigured servers for personal gain. Thompson was able to execute this attack using her highly specialized technical background as a former software engineer at AWS. To provide a general overview of how she was able to breach Capital One's services, she created a program that identified customers and applicants of Amazon Web Services, a cloud computing company, for misconfigured firewalls. Using the misconfigured firewalls, she accessed account credentials of customers, thereby leading to breach. In just a second, we'll take a look at the step-by-step process of how she was able to do this. There were 5 major stages to the attack: command and control, initial access, which is split up into 3 parts, which will be explained shortly, execution, discovery, and exfiltration. For command and control, Paige used Tor, the popular open source private network, which enables users to navigate the web anonymously. In order to gain initial access, Paige started off by making use of a server-side request forgery attack. In class, we learned about the cross-site request forgery attack, which allowed an attacker to inject a transaction request to a site from an authenticated user's browser. The difference between these two attacks is that CSRF attacks force target users to take action in the attacker's interest, while SSRF attacks are designed to target the server itself to gain access to sensitive information. The SSRF attack allowed Paige to trick the server into executing commands as a remote user, giving her access to a private server. Paige then exploited web application firewall misconfigurations, which allowed her to relay commands to a default backend server on AWS. With the SSRF attack and the WAF misconfiguration, Paige was able to obtain the access credentials, more specifically, the access key ID and secret access key. Now we come to the execution stage. After receiving temporary credentials in AWS, she started running commands on the AWS command line interface. For the discovery stage, she ran the familiar Linux system call, ls, to retrieve a complete list of all AWS S3 buckets compromised from Capital One. Finally, she exfiltrated the data she discovered, copying nearly 700 AWS S3 buckets, 30 gigabytes worth of data from Capital One to her local machine. This breach affected millions of individuals and multiple firms. Directly, Capital One as a business was targeted, specifically 100 million customers of Capital One. Thompson unlawfully gained access to over 140,000 social security numbers and 80,000 account numbers. Capital One is now facing several lawsuits. The breach will cost Capital One approximately $100 to $150 million. In addition, the data of 8 firms was compromised in the attack. These 8 firms included 4 technology firms, a state agency, a public research university, and a telecommunication firm outside of the US. Amazon Web Services is also facing a lawsuit that accuses the company of failing to act on the known weakness in its cloud services. On top of this, the breach significantly compromised trust in major businesses that have promised to protect the confidentiality and security of their customers. Anytime a large business such as Capital One experiences a security breach, especially to this level, the industry experiences a faltering of trust amongst their entire customer base, and this can be incredibly harmful to the business. We'll now move on to what we can learn from this breach, who should take accountability, and questions to consider moving forward. Right now, as we discussed before, trust in both companies is now reduced significantly for those who are aware of the breach. On that note, who should we hold responsible for this breach, other than Paige Thompson, of course? Capital One and even Amazon will have to take greater security measures and prove to their customers that they'll be able to protect their data in the future. Capital One failed to act on the supposed firewall misconfiguration in the IP address for the particular server that Thompson had exposed on GitHub. Along with Capital One, Amazon Web Services, Amazon Cloud Services should also take accountability for failing to act on the known weakness in their own cloud service. When entrusted with this incredibly confidential information of their customers, businesses hold the responsibility to take all possible measures to protect this information. We learn that companies, as a preventative measure, should act on any potential weaknesses or vulnerabilities in their security measures, such as firewall misconfigurations. Along with this, companies should take greater care to establish cybersecurity protocols in case of a breach in their systems. On that note, these are areas we can examine from the information we learned in this class. Based on what we learned, what security measures could Capital One and/or Amazon Web Services have taken to prevent this attack? What preventative measures have we learned in this class that help secure confidential data and would have helped in this case? The other question we can consider is mitigative rather than preventative. Say such a situation occurs again in the future, in which there's a major cyber attack. Again, based on what we learned in class, what sorts of security protocols could help mitigate the risk and damage of the breach? I hope the information I presented today was insightful. Thank you all for listening. Here is a comprehensive list of all the sources that I used, including the pictures and graphics that were used in this presentation.